Hey guys, it's Seamoose here, and today I have an Overwatch discussion video. So this discussion video I'm going to do is actually, it's a discussion that applies to really any game or anything you might try to do ever in your life. And it's about improvement and applying yourself and responsibility. And ironically, I'm going to be talking about improvement during some Hanzo gameplay of mine who's a hero I could definitely improve on. But anyway, to the main part, of this discussion is that in anything you're going to do, the most important thing to recognize that if you're trying to improve and learn something is that it will take time. There are going to be quick tips. There are going to be sort of ways to make you a little bit better incrementally, occasionally, but if you really want to improve, it's going to take hours and hours of effort. It's going to take trying to apply yourself. It's going to take trying learning things, and there is no shortcut, I guess, to success, to being a very high-ranking ladder player, or to, you know, finding success being a great bodybuilder. You don't go to the gym one time and all of a sudden you're Arnold Schwarzenegger. It takes years and years and years of practice. Specifically to Overwatch, though, which is what I want to talk a little bit about, and just team games in general, is that one thing that I found a lot of people tend to struggle with or get frustrated is that you cannot really affect the decisions and actions your teammates make. It is a team-based game. If you want to rely only on yourself, go play Smash, Melee, go play a fighting game, go play StarCraft, because those are all excellent 1v1 games where you can just try and apply yourself, and basically the only thing you have to blame is yourself. But as far as team games are concerned, I see a lot of people getting really frustrated, and it's not really going to help. There's a couple things you can do when you're working with the team. To a certain extent, you can try and lead and discuss. That's why I think voice communication is essential. In League of Legends, I think typing in chat and talking about strats and stuff is very, very good. But if you start getting mad at the mistakes the mistakes your allies make and the perceived things that you think your allies should be doing differently, you're gonna stop focusing on the game itself that you're playing, and you're not gonna play as well for it. And I think this is something that a lot of people probably understand deep down, but still let themselves get mad about. And to be completely honest, I get mad too sometimes when I play. When it's a really easy situation and one of my allies wasn't able to win the game or make a play or res me or whatever. Like those kinds of situations are going to happen, but you have to understand as well that everyone is going to make mistakes during the game. Like, you will be making mistakes during your game, during a 10-minute game, during a 15-minute game, and calling out your allies for it is honestly just going to make them feel worse. Like, how would you imagine you would feel if every time you made a mistake someone called you out for it? Or even worse, if every time you made a mistake that someone shit-talked you for it. Since being an asshole about things is not a good way to go about things. Like, it's something I talk to my team about. It's something I talk to everyone about who asks me, hey, how do I get better at this game? Is recognize that the only thing you can work towards improving is yourself. You need to take responsibility for the things that you can affect in the game, and those things that you can affect is going to be your own skill level and the way you execute and the strategy you know. If you're a clinical rager and you have issues with being really, really mad and shit-talking people, then there are measures you can take to minimize the effect and the negativity you have on the team. You can force yourself to mute chat, disable chat, or whatever. It's really like there's a lot of options for people who are frustrated with your allies, and it's better to get mad at your desk and yell at your house or whatever you're at than to start flaming people on the internet who are going to start playing poorly or probably flame you as well. So anyway, let's talk about some actual things you can do to improve. Besides just recognizing that improvement takes time, and to a certain extent everyone will become better at doing something over time, the repeated exercises, there are applied ways that you can practice improving. There are very specific things you can do. For example, Taimou recently had a 15-minute long clip about the warm-ups he does before he plays. And you don't need to do that every day, but if you do these practices, you do these drills, you're gonna get better at aiming. Like, basically all of his drills were about aiming. If you play the game more, you look up strats from other teams, you look up values that the heroes have, that the champions have, whatever game you're playing. If you study frame data, you're gonna get a better strategic understanding of the game, and your game sense will improve. My number one piece of advice for anyone who's looking to improve is record yourself as often as you can and look at that video, like every single time. I did that for League of Legends, and I went from a bronze 4 player to a high diamond player within, or I guess a mid diamond. I shouldn't try to lie about my rank. But anyway, I went from a bronze 4 to about mid diamond within basically a year. And that's because I took the time to watch nearly every one of my games, and I would take notes on what I did to improve and focus on, I would occasionally make lists. I would look at things that I could improve on and then try and go like into a custom game and practice some things that I needed to get better at. And you may say that, Seamoose, you know what? I'm a pretty smart guy. I have good memory. I remember all the mistakes I make. And to a certain extent, that's true. You'll remember some of the mistakes you make. But going through your own VODs and reviewing what you are doing is a great way to see things, to see mistakes you haven't even thought of, that you probably didn't remember. It'll be great to look at things that subtly you hadn't considered the first time you were playing through. And honestly, there will be some mistakes you miss. In a game, if you make, let's say, 3 to 4 major mistakes and like 7 to 10 minor mistakes, you might remember all of those major mistakes, but there'll be a couple of times like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have reloaded there, or maybe I should have not walked past the shield, or I should have stuck with the team. So sincerely, if you really, really want to get better, then I would absolutely recommend trying to spectate, review, record, spectate some of your own play. And if it's not possible, if you have a poor setup, I do apologize, because I am a little bit lucky enough to have a setup that can actually record and stream. But if that's the case, ask some of your friends and ask them, hey man, I'm really trying to improve. Could you spend half an hour to watch some of my play and coach me, give me some tips on what you think I should do better and what I should do differently, etc. And sometimes this is something I've said before on the channel, sometimes it's not even just the difference in opinion, a difference in opinion, even when one person isn't clearly in the right, can actually just give you a better understanding of the whole. Like, you and your buddy might argue about in a situation in which you used a Tracer ultimate, but perhaps both of you are correct in some way, but either way, now that you have that different perspective, you might be thinking about that next time you play Tracer, next time you're in that situation, and you might decide to do something differently, which could work out better. I don't ever particularly think a difference in opinion is a reason not to have a conversation or discussion. In fact, differences in opinions are really, really good for encouraging discussion and learning more about stuff. So that's the big thing, is watching games, reviewing everything you can, and just trying to improve yourself. Because another big thing I see from players is that they don't really have the right mindset. They blame factors that aren't out of their control, and they're trying to play games for winning as opposed to improving. If you hear players from all sorts of sports and all sorts of esports, of course they want to be like the greatest and they want to win. It's that competitive drive that drives competition, and that's why we love it and enjoy watching it and enjoy cheering about it. But all of these players, especially in esports from what I've seen, they will always say, I just focused on improving. The only thing I cared about, I didn't care about winning, I just wanted to improve. And during a game, certainly, winning is very, very important. But if you look at a game on ladder and you say, I have to win this game because I want to get this rank, because I'm so close to this rank, then I honestly don't think you don't have the right mindset. I think if you're playing on ladder, you should say, okay, I'm playing at this level of play, I want to improve. So I'm going to go into this game, I'm going to give it everything I have, and I'm going to take away as much as I can from this game at this level of play. If you're at a level of play that's lower than you think you should be, chances are you're probably just misperceiving how strong you are. There's very commonly discussion, and people are talking about what elo hell is, the idea that in a team-based game, you're at such a low level of play that your allies are all going to be bad. And there is certainly some merit to that, so I'm going to go back to talking about the things you can control. There will certainly be situations in which your allies might be less skilled than you want them to be. But in any team game I have seen, even if the game is more focused to team play, I have found that successful and high-level players will always be able to carry the game. And not every game. You will not win every game. Even the games that you played beautifully and even the games that you totally think you deserve to win, and by all means probably should have if everything was just and fair. You just won't be able to win them all. And good players, great players will recognize that, and they won't beat themselves up too if they lose a game and say, "Oh crap, I played so horrible." They'll tell themselves, "You know what? I played that pretty well. Probably was one of the more impactful players on my team. Maybe if my team had played a little bit better, then things would have gone differently. But on to the next game. In the next game, my teammates will probably be at a different skill level." You have to remember that if you play more and more games, if you give it more time, then on average, you'll play with people that are around the skill level of your rank. And if you're better than your rank implies, then you will certainly be able to grind. So if I were to sum it up, I would just recognize that things take time. Definitely wait, be patient, spend practice, take a lot of practice, put a lot of effort into it, and recognize that results will take time. I wouldn't actually even be that results oriented. I would just be progress oriented. Try to improve whenever you can as opposed to win whenever you can. Make sure not to diss your teammates in a team-based game. Try to give as much effort as you can and actually build up your teammates if you're struggling, and constantly look for ways to try to improve your skill and just improve yourself as a player. Because, of course, the only thing that you can actually do in your life, the only thing that you have a real effect over are the things you can control, which is yourself and how you play and your attitude, etc. Anyway, I hope that helps. If you guys have some thoughts on that, please let me know, since I do know that's very, very common in competitive games is, how can I improve and stuff, and taking responsibilities. I think a really good thing for players to do if they want to improve. Anyway, that's going to wrap it up for this video. Guide coming out next week. Look forward to that. And yeah, thank you very much for watching, everyone, and I'll see you all tomorrow.